Right, let me go ahead. Just so that we can have some extra time. Little puppy.
Which puppy's with you?
I'm house sitting, well, pet sitting for the day.
That's right. So I don't know this one. Oh my goodness. I see people I love. Dorothy, how are you?
Hello.
Hey.
Good. How are you?
Oh my goodness. Just went out to go pick up a cake for tomorrow, and the Mother's Day traffic is unreal.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Up here it's bad too. There's all kinds of activities going on with the Byron Nelson and everything.
Yeah, I could do it too.
So I'm not even going to get out. Make Rodney do it.
Yes.
Alrighty. I'm waiting on a couple other people. We are live.
Once this is recorded and done, is it? I have a friend who couldn't join us. Is it okay if I send her the link to the recording?
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Lindsay, when did you hear about the AO scan?
Well, it's funny, Chelsea. I just found you on Bride Ministries, and I was trying to schedule an appointment with you, but you can't do that somehow. So I looked you up through all methods, and I found you on Facebook, and then I was like, well, I'll just be your friend. And so you started talking about it, and so I was like, well, I'll get on and talk about this, just because I know frequency's been a thing like spiritually lately. So, and then I saw on your website, I was like, oh, she does freedom flowers, and I know all about that because I've read the book Broken Whole, and so I know all about her stuff, and I get her stuff as well. So that's why I'm here. So.
Okay, very good. Excellent.
Okay.
My schedule's blocked because I'm booked. Like you that's where I'm booked as far out as it can go. So
That's what that's what I figured. I was just like, oh, she lives in Dallas, and she's I live in San Antonio, but I was like, oh, she's a naturopath, and I want to work with her that way too. And if I can work with her spiritually and physically, that would be great. But that's what I figured. So
okay. Well, I can keep you on my list.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Are all of the bride ministry coaches booked that far out, or just certain ones?
I'm not sure. I don't pay attention to their schedules.
Okay.
I work part-time, and then I'm actually going out of town for about 5 months this year. And so taking on new clients and starting a rotation with them is kind of not really fun, because I'm gonna have to break it up significantly. Yeah.
My mom wants to join in. Hi, Anne-Marie. So
I don't see her.
I have to send her the link first. All righty.
Should brighten this.
Rebecca, is your mom coming?
She said she planned to, but she was on her way home and that she would probably be home by 2. So she might be just a few minutes late.
That's okay. I don't think this will like lock or anything. So, alrighty. I'm getting feedback. Is that just me or?
I hear it. I think it's through hers.
If you're not talking, mute. I think that's what it is.
I think it's just me and Chelsea.
Yeah, the two of us. No, I think it was through someone else's. Okay, great.
Why don't we pray and then we'll get started. Okay, I'll pray. Lord, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to come together and just learn more about you and learn about these amazing things that you have helped people to create. And I just pray that the conversation is productive and informative, and that you would just be glorified in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay. Do you want to say anything, Chelsea, before I kind of go through our little talking?
Well, Megan's my niece.
Yes.
My first niece. She's the first of the grandchildren, and so she's the leader of the pack of grandkids for my parents. And so she's my sister's daughter. And I have loved connecting with Megan for several years. She's a sister in Christ for sure. And it's been real beautiful to watch her grow in strength and beauty and awareness, and then diving into holistic medicine, prayer resource needs, different skills. And you came over in 2020, concerned you might have had COVID, and I ran a scan for you and realized she had a natural talent for muscle testing. And I thought, this is interesting. This is a beginning. And I knew it was a beginning, and it sure was, because she has just taken off. And the feedback from other practitioners that have worked with her and trained her is that she's a rock star. So she really does a good job with, goodness, she's just diligent in all things. And I think that speaks a lot about her character and her commitment to those that are interested in working with her, because her character speaks very loudly to me in amazing ways. And I think that she's got a great subject here that I couldn't touch with a 10-foot pole, but we were talking yesterday, and I had to find out a lot more about millennials, because I feel like there is some sort of gap between my understanding and understanding the mindset of the millennial. So Megan explained the millennial in general very well to me yesterday, kind of eye-opening. But I've been a bioenergetic practitioner for 10 years and a naturopathic doctor for 4 years of that time. But I've been in practice for 10 years using bioenergetic devices. I had my favorite and have recently literally decided to close the lid on my favorite and start using this, because it was that much more than what I've been protecting, guarding, and using in my clinic for 10 years. So it's really been phenomenal to watch. And so we're going to talk about how energy medicine fits into the Christian worldview, and along with how that applies to a generation that it may not make sense to yet. So, okay, there you go.
Appreciate that. So I don't know a lot of you. My mom just popped on. Hi, Mom.
Okay, my sister.
So yeah, I've just kind of grown up watching my aunt go through her whole like Trinity school experience. I nannied her kids for several years. We've just kind of been real close the last couple of years. But before I was doing this, I was a teacher. That wasn't as great as it could have been, but it was a learning experience. But I do think that teacher is probably my main like portion of my spirit, probably the one that I operate the most out of. But yeah, I'm just trying to listen to Holy Spirit and see how he wants to lead this meeting. I guess we could probably talk about how it fits in with the Christian worldview first, and then we could go into kind of the needs of the millennials. What does that sound like to you, Chelsea?
That sounds great. As far as my perspective with how it fits in with the Christian worldview, is that the way you phrase the question? Okay. We're dealing literally with creation, natural creation. When God spoke, let there be light, it was his voice and his intention, and there it was. And I think his voice carried the instruction, the building blocks for creation, for light, for land and sea and earth and humans and animals and birds. And, you know, I think that a lot of that carried through his voice in the whole process. It's a mechanic of creation to need energy. We're science has shown that we are batteries. We've got polarized parts of our bodies. We've got energy flowing in and out. We can get depleted energy. I do a modality called mud packing. I teach a course called Mudwise, where our energy gets blocked by injuries, and how to release those back to functioning again. And it's been quite an eye-opening experience, because I've set out to make sure I was doing the Christian things in a world full of new age things. And the more that I found, I realized that a lot of the things the new age uses is literally just stolen from the natural design that God placed on this planet, maybe relabeled, and kind of, there's always some sort of little tweak of deception in there. But the things like chakras, for example, I was terrified of that subject as a young naturopath or someone on the path to becoming one. And when I realized they're testable, they're observable through muscle testing and several other types of testing, I was like, I have to acknowledge them at least. And then it was kind of a stretch of time before I landed on understanding how to minister to them. And when I mean minister, it is literally food, energy, prayer, all those things. And sometimes doing some stronghold releases through prayer, because they can definitely have like a big principality sitting on your throat chakra or something like that. So we don't want to open them. We want to give them what they need and help deliver off any strongholds and let them be. But they're there. They're part of our makeup. They're part of our natural created design. So I went through Trinity School of Natural Health, which is a Christ-centered holistic education. Then I took many extended classes on bioenergetic medicine, different modalities along the way. And I would try some out and where they'd land. And then some of them I would say, okay, this doesn't work, or it doesn't align with my core beliefs. And then I would move on. However, bioenergetic medicine has never, ever swayed from my core beliefs whatsoever, and has never been something that is offensive. So when it is just frequency, it's just frequency. The principle of, for example, when God told Israel not to wear wool with linen, it's been discovered that people just had to obey it then, but now it's discovered that those two frequencies of those fabrics cancel each other out, and they become almost like dead weight on the person. When they're together, they're not beneficial. And there's so many ways that we can test those things through muscle testing or other bioenergetic devices, and seeing how our energy flows and depletes or it raises. And so the AO scan is designed to not only test where there's low energy, where there should be more, or if it's too much energy, where there might need to be some balancing to bring that back into range. And it's just been one of those devices that impressed me to no end. And they're still making it better. It's just getting better and better. Their customer service is great. Their support is great. They're always making improvements and engaging with their what are we?
Advocates.
Advocates. Okay, so Megan and I are called quantum living advocates. So it works, the AO scan works very much in the quantum field, which is real science. It is also observable, testable, reproducible science. Okay, so that's part of the important part everybody needs to know, is it's not, the AO scan is not a faith-based program. It doesn't have religion tucked into it, which I appreciate because I wanted those things to be what I apply in my relationship with my clients. So I like that it kept that neutral, but everything for the body and for the emotions, for the soul and the body are in there. As far as I can tell, everything that would benefit those.
We have a question.
Yeah.
Lauren asked, can chakras be considered essence?
Oh, man, that's a tough one.
What do you mean by essence? Maybe clarify that for me. You probably already know, Chelsea, but.
Well, I kind of know where Lauren's coming from, but if Lauren, if you could actually speak to that a little bit more.
Yes, sorry. I like have a very tired toddler right now, so it's a little crazy. So essence, so I've been kind of learning about like essence, like frequencies in like color therapy and you know, like voice therapy or what do they call it? Music frequencies, you know, things like that. They have level of essences that they carry that interact with our body particles and, you know, different parts of the body or whatever. And chakras do that too. I was wondering if they are both kind of the same, but just named differently, or is essence separate from what you were talking about with chakras?
I think of them as separate. However, our
Okay.
chakras, I think, are tied to our essence. I think they're tied to it. I think every single part of us is tied to our essence, and that would be in that category. But if you're talking about music therapy and light therapy, those are chakras can benefit from, I mean, I've even seen people teach on chakras benefiting from food. But if we can't digest and assimilate and eliminate our food properly, they're not going to get the nourishment they need. Sometimes what I've been telling my clients for 10 years is that I can support the body with herbs, with holistic things, but when there's something in all the nooks and cranny of a cell, all the way through to the subnucleus where the DNA and RNA is stored, herbs don't tend to get in there. They just don't. So your body really has to convert extra hard for that. So homeopathy and frequency can get in there. That's where it shines. That's where the body can back out of disease all the way through to the heart of the cells. And by the way, when I was in biology in school, they may have finally changed it, but they taught us that the nucleus of the cell was the brain. It is not. It is not. In fact, here's a really cool analogy about this. The nucleus of the cell stores the RNA and the DNA. That's where that happens, and then it moves. But where the brain is the membrane. I mean, the clue was in the name all along. But you could remove the nucleus of a cell, and it could live 3 or 4 months. But if you remove the membrane, it dies instantly. So when something comes along and comes in contact with one of those receptor sites on the cell, the membrane, it programs the cell and tells it what it needs. So the membrane is very important. Well, that membrane is a crystalline liquid membrane. Kind of reminds me of living stones, if you think about it. Crystalline membrane, and they sing to each other. The cells sing, and they sing to the hypothalamus. I call the choir conductor. And if they're living in a swamp where you're not able to detox very well, they don't have good cell-to-cell communication. They struggle. They don't say, they can't get the message that they need something to the hypothalamus. So we want to, clean up these and give them a car wash, and clean up these cells so they can sing beautifully with each other. Just an idea of energy and frequency and how it works with the biology of the body altogether.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you for answering it. That actually clarified a lot of things.
Oh, I did bring out I'll just show you. I brought out, let me get a better color. They have, if you've ever done an inner voice report or done inner voice, they have these glasses that show up on them. And so you can literally get frequency through your eyes and your ears at the same time. And that gives specific information to our cells. So this is something that they offer, and these are tuned to the frequencies that they will send you. It's really cool. So they've got a whole kit of colors. So I think that's fun. I've bought ones off of Amazon before, and they're just, I'm underwhelmed. I'll just say that. Had significant issues with my ordering of these glasses from Amazon. And these were specific colors, not just a red. It was a specific red.
Does anyone else have any other questions before we kind of transition to needs of millennials?
I have a question that kind of goes with Lauren's question. I think sometimes the term chakras turns people off immediately because it's connection to kind of Eastern mysticism and other New Age things. Is there maybe another way to describe it so that people are not just immediately kind of turned off to the whole process?
Great question. So I've heard them called energy centers. Yeah, and they tend to focus on specific area. Each of them have.
Okay, that I think feels better to a conservative Christian. I think the terminology is important sometimes, and so that is very helpful.
Yeah. I had a lot of problem with it, and I realized that just about every religion has taken something from God's creation and put their stamp on it, and understandably so if they're going to believe that way. And chakras is just a common name, in my opinion, that is just well understood by most people. Energy centers might actually be confusing until you say, well, in other places we'll call them chakras. They will understand the word chakra more than energy center, but yeah, energy center is more about what they are than anything specifically with any sort of other religion involved.
Okay. I'm a little, when you use the word chakra, it automatically goes to the spirit of Kundalini. And I don't know if you know what that is, like the New Age spirit and deception and stuff like that. So using the word chakra really throws me off. Like, and my face will tell you that's why I'm struggling through this, because you use that word chakra. Energy center is different, but the word, it's just, I've been through extensive deliverance ministry where we closed all of the chakras. Like, we didn't minister to them. You close them because they're open portals in the spirit of Kundalini that are not good. So
I agree.
On the flip side, if there's something bad, can there be something good?
Sorry, go ahead, Megan.
I said, but on the flip side, if something bad can be in it, can something good also be in it? Like, can there be ministry to that chakra?
I do it all the time.
Right.
I usually use a prayer resource for it. But when we're getting attacked from energy on the outside, and these energy centers are under assault, and there's a frequency that can help actually shield some of that, it's really helpful. So we can deal with them in the spirit realm through prayer and doing healing and deliverance that way. We can minister to them through nutrition, diet, and frequency medicine. So making sure that, and emotional, because they do run a lot on the emotional plane too. So taking care of our emotions, having good emotional hygiene.
Because when you look on the reports, when you get an AO scan, it'll show you the chakras and where it's out of balance, but then it'll also give physical descriptions of things that are like issues.
Yeah. So while they're using that terminology, because it's common terminology, if you look at how it applies to the body, that's where it's going to be, that's the information you want to look at. If I could have them relabel them to energy signatures, I would, but it's not my company. But their information seems to be really spot on. And whenever people see their reports, like, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So I thought we'd just kind of go over some of the things that I feel like millennials struggle with, or kind of set us apart from Gen X and even Gen Z. So I'm literally just gonna go through my little list that I made this morning based on our conversation. And feel free to chime in if any of this kind of resonates, or if you have things to add as far as what you feel like needs of millennials are, and then maybe we can touch on some things. One of the things that we talked about was just as a generation, we feel not heard. I'm not sure where exactly that stems from, but I do know that we have come up with the digital age, and there's been a lot of, how did I explain this yesterday? I don't really remember. Just overall, I think parenting styles probably changed in my generation. And the way that we've learned things, there's just a lot of, I mean, at least me personally, I feel a lot of the times like I'm not heard. I know I think my second year of teaching, that was a big spiritual struggle for me because my students would not listen. And so that was a real hard thing. It was a trigger for me. I just felt really degraded and disrespected because I didn't feel heard. I think a lot of that stems from just the trauma that we've had over the years. Because of the digital age, we've come into a lot of cyberbullying, a lot of unsafe sexual stuff. So the group Moral Revolution came to my young adults group last year, the year before, and they said that there is not a control group anymore because millennials and Gen Z and after, we have been sexually assaulted just due to the amount of sexuality that is portrayed on TV, but also how freely we can find porn and other things on the internet. And so there's like our brains, literally, the neural pathways become trained. So there's not a control group because all of our neural pathways have seen something that we shouldn't have seen. So there's trauma from that, 9/11, that was a really big traumatic thing, early 2000s and stuff. I think we still kind of feel some of the ripple effects of that one. Trying to think what else did I say yesterday?
There was another big event that you mentioned that I thought was pretty significant. Oh, where did you put the Google?
I shared it with your We Were Seeds one email. I guess just the digital age and maybe the living in a fantasy world part.
Oh yeah.
So because of the digital age and because of just all of this trauma that we've kind of all experienced all at once, is that a phenomenon where there's many people experiencing the same trauma all at the same time? Is there a word for that? Like, is that a thing?
Micah, my son, he used the term always online. That was something like I didn't grow up online. There weren't computers. My job was to be home when the lights came on in the street. So we were running around freely. And now, there's where I'd personally rather my kids be in the house for several different things. And so there's far more online exposure. I think that your point about cyberbullying is significant because I can go onto social media and whether or not I'm being cyberbullied, every day I can see somebody else getting bullied and I get traumatized by that because I have been cyberbullied, but maybe not to the same effect that millennials have especially in public or groups that tend to not have good manners and don't know not to do that and that it could really hurt. So there's that component that I didn't have. My bullying that I encountered was in person. And then it was somewhat chronic. However, I was able to overcome it through school, but it was more one-on-one or with a few people. It wasn't the whole world looking at me.
Right. Or whole groups, as as a conservative Christian, I have a lot of people not on my side. I have a whole people group not on my side. They don't see my side. And that can be really hard to share authentically, which we'll get into in a second. Yeah. So kind of going back to the digital part and the fantasy stuff. I know when I was a kid, I did a lot of like online role-playing games where we would pretend and write fan fiction and just kind of escape from this world that we live in. And it's probably just because of all of the trauma and just that we're having corporately. But we're online on all the time. And so we just have created these fantasy worlds. So we crave authenticity, but we're stuck in this fantasy world and we don't quite know how to get to reality and be emotionally regulated, because we're stuck here where it's happy all the time, serotonin levels are great. But we also need to be here in reality because that's real life. That's where our problems lie, and that's where all of our sicknesses is and all that stuff. We don't want to go there. We like fantasy world, but we also know we're double-minded, it seems. So we need to get out of the double mind.
It reminds me of the movie Ready Player One. If any of y'all have seen that movie, Ready Player One was very much about a universe inside.
Like a video game?
Huh?
A video game, or basically?
It was like all the good video games in one thing. It was a mega online universe. And you could change your identity, you had friends, you could earn income. There was economy on the inside of that, but it was extensive. And at the end of the movie, and if you don't want me to spoil it for you, then just but in the end, even the victors that won the major thing, they realized we have to spend some time in reality, and they actually shut down. They became the boss of I'm just going to call it a universe, the internet universe that they had. They shut it down on Tuesdays so people would be really engaged with their life at least one day a week. I mean, nobody was forced to go in, but everybody was in there. And so it was a really good eye-opener to the need of checking in with your real life at the same time and not being always online.
I had the thought that being in the digital age and having this ability to go into virtual reality, like Lauren said in the comments, it's kind of our own way of playing God. You know, if we're unhappy with the way that our life is going, based on whatever lie the enemy has told us, then we can go onto Sims or onto, whatever game you're playing and make your own perfect life. But that seems kind of boring to me personally.
And I'll say I'm online a lot, but I'm socially interacting, and I'm not a gamer. Like, I stunk at Pac-Man and I didn't want to waste my quarters, so I didn't try. Waka, and I die. I just wasn't very good at it. So I think that was the Lord saving me from the need for the gaming, because it was something I just didn't have a thing for.
So you bring up the social aspect. I think too, even if we are only on social media or online for the social aspect, it's still kind of a false set apart socialization. There's nothing really clicking there. Like, I have lots of Facebook friends, I think over 2,000 Facebook friends, but am I really close with all of them? No, I'm probably close with, 10 to 15 people, including family, within that friend group. So Lauren says, human connection is so important. I find being around the right people are therapy. Yeah.
They might have some vibrational benefit. The words they speak, the love they give, those are all frequencies, not just, I don't want to reduce them down to just sine waves, but they are frequencies. And we do get benefit from being around people that have those beneficial frequencies, that just emit them, they radiate them. Someone that walks into your room full of joy, you're going to experience some joy. Somebody that walks into the room with resentment and all that, you're going to experience that. It's very similar to it's definitely something that we need to acknowledge just within human interaction, that our vibration, I know that sounds like a hippie term. Well, it would have been for my generation. Gen X would have sounded like a hippie term, but vibration and frequency are extremely important. They were onto something.
There's that proverb about, the company that you keep really is important. Wise people hang out with wise people, foolish people hang out with foolish people. Like attracts like. So
Like your
Hmm?
have you ever noticed how your Facebook ads start to show up and you're like, how did they know I just went and bought a vacuum? And you get all these vacuum ads and I'm thinking, it's too late, Facebook, you missed it. But that's the only clue they had, was whenever you purchased that. There was one time I got a whole bunch of ads for books that were human demon love relationships. And I'm going, what on earth? Facebook, you did not peg me right at all. And I have a friend, her name's Rachel Miller, and she runs Moolah Marketer, phenomenal mentor as far as marketing goes. She got on my post and said, hey, it's the friends you keep. That's what they're seeing. And I thought, well, I don't keep those friends. But what I realized was the day before, I had done some research on specific demons to help a client. And so Facebook thought I was interested in that. They missed the mark, and I keep telling them it's inappropriate material for me. I have to let them know. But if I go do a search, sometimes those things will show up. And even she made that point that, you are who your friends are. I was like, well, they don't know who my friends are apparently, but it was kind of funny, the connection.
Did you actually read the article Micah shared yesterday about the AI?
I read it briefly. I watched the video that was in it.
Okay, I didn't get a chance to look at it, so I just wanted. Do you want to talk on that real quick, since we're kind of on that topic?
Okay, my son, Micah, my oldest son, he shared a video about how AI is now beginning to be able to read our thoughts. And it's doing it by picking up waves in the room with the AI, and it can actually decide what those words are that our brain is using to communicate. Kind of like it pegged the inner monologue of somebody who was studying. And I thought that was pretty fascinating, because we're not always aware of our thoughts, but it's becoming where it could be really helpful for like a nonverbal child with autism to be able to understand what they're thinking. But at the same time, it's a huge violation if I didn't give consent for my thoughts to be read by something also.
And I know that you had said that the AO scanner is different technology. It's the same idea, but how did you explain that yesterday?
The AO scanner isn't AI. So I like that. It is an algorithm, not artificial intelligence. So it's like an if-then program, a basic type program, versus an AI generated. It's not a sentient type device.
Right.
So that gave me a lot of comfort. And also I had a lot of comfort in knowing that it's not in a cloud that we download. To me, I feel like that's far more vulnerable to hacking and whatever. This is in a very secure area, and wildly protected is what I get the gist of. So they have it where literally nothing can be sent out from the program that will hurt somebody. There's nothing in it that can hurt somebody. It's all set up to only be beneficial. It won't hurt.
Right. Okay, so another thing that we kind of talked about last night as far as needs of millennials was, this could just be me personally, but I feel like as a generation, we can't really get ahead in life as far as the economy, our finances, the housing market. Like I'm praying I can be able to buy a house. I need some, anyways. But a lot of millennials have trouble purchasing a home just because of how our economy has kind of been set up for us. And so we kind of feel stuck. And that could be part of the emotional regulation part, is like we just continually feel stuck physically. So then we get stuck emotionally and then spiritually as well. But another thing we talked about in that vein was like health insurance and stuff. So a lot of people have chronic health issues. I have some friends, Facebook friends, that have what we call invisible illnesses that literally need surgery, and their insurance either won't recognize it, won't pay for it, whatever. They can't get their health need met just because of how the system has been set up. And so what I like about the scan is it's a little wellness center in your pocket. I'm not saying it's a cure-all, because it's not. It's all informative, it's all educational, nothing's diagnostic. But it can give you an idea of what you're dealing with on a health level, and give you tips and tricks to kind of help support your body through those things. And then with the frequencies itself, if I'm feeling stuck and feel like I can't get ahead, one, I could do a little self-session of myself with my software that I have, and figure out what the root beliefs are and take care of the root beliefs. But I can also send frequencies from the AO scanner when it comes to creativity or abundance, feeling successful. So many frequencies to help kind of nudge me out of that stuck feeling. So I wanted to see if anyone else had thoughts. What are some other millennial needs that you guys have seen that maybe we haven't covered?
May I add something to that, Megan?
Yes, ma'am.
I put that that link in the chat box because I just found it. Well, I was thinking about this, Chelsea, as you were talking, and then you said linen. I'm like, number one, I'm already on this linen website because I thought it would be pertinent. And two, it's all I wear now. And it's been probably 2.5, 3 months. I went to Goodwill. Well, I did some research, did a ton of research, a ton of videos talking about linen and wool, linen. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is wild and nobody's talking about it. I went home, packed up all of my winter clothes, all of my jeans, all of my everything, put them in suitcases, and went and dumped everything at a dumpster. Every article of clothing I have a few of those stretchy tops because I can't find anything, but I think this website is gonna provide the undergarments because that's the only thing I have left that's not linen. And I don't know what's going on. I believe it's a good thing, but there are two things that I changed about 2 months ago. It was feeding my mitochondria, which is inside the cell, which is the powerhouse. That's Steve Harvey's supplement powder called Elevate. And the other thing was my clothing. I've been to the gym like 4 or 5 times a week. I've never been consistent because there was always a fight. Like, I don't want it. People are like, going to the gym should make you feel good. I'm like, I hate it. I'm angry. My mitochondria didn't have the energy to do what I needed to do. And I get up in the morning at 4, 5 and head on over. And as I'm walking, I'm in an apartment, so it's always open. So I'm walking across the street and I'm like, is there going to be a fight? Is there going to be inner turmoil? Is there going to be? And I get there and I'm like, that's interesting. And it's happened every single day. And I'm like, I am not accustomed to not having an argument. It was a battle to go to the gym. So I'm like, those are the only two things I've changed. So I don't know what you guys can do with that, but linen, do some research on it. It is so beneficial. That's all I got to say.
I actually want to address the mitochondria issue. So mitochondria is in the cell, and the cell, if you think about the cell like onions with lots of layers, it's got lots of layers. It makes me think of Shrek. But there's lots of layers, and those are actually, the way I look at them, those layers are addresses. Here's street or different. Yeah, I think of it like a house and not streets, but like each layer is an X, and the outside of the cell, the extracellular matrix, is 1 to 3x. The X's are going to be the address, okay? But in the mitochondria, that can be something when something comes in contact with the cell and it doesn't quite know what to do with it, or it can't use it properly, and it takes it in and it's still thinking, I don't know what to do with this. If it's been in there for about 5 years, that hits the mitochondria. The mitochondria, so it's something that you've been lingering and dealing with for over 5 years, our energy level from 5 years ago, okay? And so getting the cells to have what's called a right spin, it needs to spin so it can, well, the way I just use the term poop, it can expel waste and take in nutrients, but it needs to have that right spin. That's very important. It needs to be able to eliminate toxins and waste. The extracellular fluid needs to be something that is fluid and not a swamp, so that it can leave, go through the filtration and drainage organs of the body, like the liver, lymph, kidney, spleen. You know, it's like it's got to leave the body and go out through the bowels or the bladder or through our lungs. If our bowels and our lungs are not up to speed, we start getting, when the body is trying to kick something out, we start getting eruptions through the skin, or our sex organs take the hit, and they can collect a lot of toxins. And I know that when we carry children, we can actually kind of dump those into our kids. So we want to be real careful to be able to clean up around the cell, then get the cell in that right spin. This is all, do you see how frequency flows into this? And the mitochondria is taking those hits. Now, if something you've been born with, that's going to be all the way in where the RNA is stored. Well, are you creating chromosomes? Are you having DNA made with bad information because there's a hitch in your get along in the nucleus of the cell? So we need to be able to get in there, take care of the things that are in there, allow the body to walk it out. So the AO scan doesn't diagnose, it doesn't treat, and it doesn't cure disease. And you don't want that. Your body can do that itself. So this is education. It gives you information to know where to make improvements in your life. It gives frequencies that are beneficial. They're not going to cure a disease, although they can relieve symptoms. Let me share 2 of those with this group. Okay. When I first bought the AO scan, I bought it for the inner voice feature. I didn't know it could do all the other stuff it does. And I got all sparkly eyed the more I learned about it. And I'm just thinking, okay, I can use this fully. But the inner voice, what was going on with me was I was in a depression. I was in a depression for 3 years, 2020. Okay, enough said about 2020. Well, it's not really enough said, but that really hit me hard. Then my husband had a stroke in May of 2020. We're coming up on a 3-year anniversary for that. And he had it during COVID. So stroke with COVID. And then I get bacterial pneumonia from wearing the mask at the hospital. So there was like multiple hits there. And then in 2021, we had snowvid, where the entire state of Texas was frozen for days and power went out. Well, that hit my husband's pool business really hard, because even though we did massive preemptive work for that, he still had that traumatic brain injury from the stroke, but still trying to manage the mess of the swimming pools. They didn't get all fixed for about 10 months. We had supply chain issues. It was just unreal what that created for us. And then I went through several clusters of false accusations, 2 from different parts of family, and then some other people. There were false accusations, and some of them didn't get resolved, and some of them I'm able to just walk away from, and some of them actually figured out, oh, I was triggered by Chelsea, but she actually did the right thing. I'm triggered because it reminded me of what Grandpa did when I was a kid, you know, and it was kind of one of those things where the resolution came sweetly later. But there was a great deal. And then just, you know, my teens growing up and dealing with hard things as well. And anyway, so the depression was pretty hard. The biggest highlight for me was actually working with my prayer coaching clients, because it just gave me so much hope. being able to get in there and use incredible tools, these prayer resources, and be able to see with them was just such a life-giving event for me. So I really hung in there because of my clients, to be honest. But the first time I played the inner voice, that depression peeled off of me and went up into heaven, I guess. It peeled up off of me. And it felt like, I don't know if any of y'all did this, but when I was a kid, I loved to put Elmer's glue on my hand, let it dry, and then peel it off. That's how it felt. It felt like it was just coming off, and it felt fresh and breathing again. So I loved the inner voice option. And then another story was, I was in North Carolina at an AOScan event. It was called Day of Discovery, and it was a virtual event, but we met in person all together. It was really cool. And Bob comes home from church, lays on the bed, and texted me, and he said he had AFib. His heart was acting up. And so I sat there in North Carolina, found the feature for heart palpitations, and I broadcasted for 2 minutes. I broadcasted to him digitalis purpurea. It's a homeopathic frequency, and it broadcast to him. His AFib resolved in the 2 minutes. It was just gone. And this is something where if something goes on with his heart, it takes hours for it to calm down. It was within the 2 minutes. I came home and that's great. That's one time, I hear it totally. Well, he's had, because of the stroke, his thirst index has really, really decreased. So he doesn't realize he forgets to drink, and his body has to tell on him. So he gets tachycardia and palpitations, not necessarily AFib. So he's had 5 more either tachycardia events or palpitations, and I have been able to broadcast to him while he's at work, and it resolves during the broadcast. I mean, it's just been quite amazing. So that's a couple of stories I wanted to share on how even just the inner voice, and then some of the great subtle energy that we can send to somebody. And remember, it's only beneficial, won't hurt them whatsoever, but I only do it with consent. Okay. Then that's real important to know that there is some major tools in the pocket, in your back pocket. I mean, it's literally the size of a phone, and you put it in your back pocket and it's available. Look at some pictures.
I guess I have a question. Does everybody on this already know what it does, or I guess I signed up for this thinking you were going to tell me what it does, and we haven't got there yet. I guess I'm guessing we haven't got there yet. I've gone to the website and I've watched the video, but I'm not 100% positive. Like you said, it doesn't. I guess I'm not understanding how. I get how it's beneficial, but I don't get how it's beneficial. Like, it sends out the frequencies, it checks and see what's wrong, but then then it provides frequencies back, or does it give you like advice on how you should fix things, like if your body's constantly in flight or fright, stuff like that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it does. Do you want to explain this part, Megan?
Yeah, I was going to just screen share and kind of show you what on the desktop, what it looks like. Just on my own profile. I don't mind if y'all see stuff. So this is like the home page. So there are several features within. Now, I don't have these 2 things, and Chelsea does, but I don't have these 2 things yet. I'll hopefully get those later. But so she's talking about inner voice. So inner voice is a type of scan. Vitals is a type of scan. Body systems and comprehensive, those are all types of scans. The EZ scan is inner voice, vitals, and comprehensive all in one. So that's usually what I do every day. At the beginning of my day, I'll give a little 10-second voice sample. It'll scan everything, and then it will send me optimizing frequencies to help rebalance some of those things. I think I'm actually going to do this one instead because it'll be easier. I'm not going to go over my report, but this was my report from this morning. So with inner voice, I feel like Chelsea explains it a lot better than I do, but essentially you send a 10-second voice sample, or you just talk, into your phone. You just say, I am, whatever your first name is, and talk for 10 seconds. And then it analyzes the notes coming through the voice. Was it 12 notes over how many octaves?
It'll hear the, can you hear me?
Yeah, you stopped for a second. Say it again.
Okay, so it's any octave, but it's one of the 12 variants within an octave. It will hear where you're speaking. It'll hear the 3 highest notes and the lowest note, and it's looking for those specifically because the 3 highest notes are going to be out of balance emotions.
Overrepresented.
They're represented, but they are also compensating for the lowest note. And the lowest note, I don't know if you can see my arrow, but that purple A, D sharp and A, that would be the lowest one. Go to classic tones, Megan. I don't think I can. Okay, so see how they've got the 3 up here and then 1 down here? These 3 up here are going to be the high notes, the highest notes, and the A is going to be the one that registers as lowest. That's the one that's the suppressed emotion. And so working on those 3 higher ones first, basically getting them what they need so that then we can get to that suppressed emotion is very important. And so that's not just it hearing one of 12 notes and then giving you one of 12 notes to come back and help balance it. It's actually listening to one of 10,000 variations in between those 12 notes. And so anytime you get a song back to you, it is very customized to your inner voice, your specific one. And I'm going to use a term. Please take this term loosely. It's not really meant to be like a medical term, but I like how it works in the thought of it. It doses the appropriate balancing note so that it takes the edge off of the intensity of the emotion, and you're able to receive joy, beneficial feelings, and relief of some of those grieving, or the ones that are real hard. I know that when I first started doing this, every single inner voice scan I did for a month, anger would show up. Anger would show up on every single one. And they told us in the training that after COVID, anger comes up a lot. And I thought, well, yeah, I just was like, I need to have a tiara that says I'm angry, because it's so, I just needed to own it. It was one of those things that was obviously really, really in there. And when it took about a month, and then they stopped coming regularly. And then now it's maybe once a week where anger will show up. So I'm really glad, because what does anger do? That really will hit the liver and other areas of the body quite a bit. But being able to have that relief and not feel like I have to stuff that anger just to fit along or get along in society is a huge help too. You know, to play nice and I have to be quiet about anger. Well, I'd rather be authentic and not angry. Or if I am angry, I want to be able to respond appropriately with anger, and that it be righteous and beneficial anger, not just me venting and just popping because I'm angry. So.
Right. So this is just one of the 4 notes. I'm not going to go over all of it. We could do that in a consultation later, but down here, so the notes have specific like topics that go with them. So sadness versus inner peace, fear versus confident, low self-esteem versus self-accepting, and then emotionally disconnected versus emotionally integrated. I will say for me, nervous exhaustion is coming up a lot. There's a lot of emotions for me regarding grief and other things like that, and that is affecting my lungs. I'm sure you guys have noticed me having to turn my mic off for a second to cough. Been dealing with that for about almost a month. But I'm able to see like the specifics within my own voice. Sorry. I like how it says over here in the little descriptor, I think it's over here, where, too big. Like you can pretend like you're okay, but your voice really knows. So these are the different email attachments that you'll get with an easy scan. So I'm not going to overwhelm you guys with that. But the link in the body of the email goes to this web page. I was able to see which supplements I needed this morning. So I can implement all of my supplements, all of my mom's supplements, whatever I need that we have in the house, and I can do my scan and it will tell me what exactly I need. Because a lot of times I'm just guessing. I need this particular tablet, but do I also need the serious cough tincture? Do I need deep lung? Do I need my mitochondria thing? Like all of these things, so I'm able, one, that's a money saver because I'm not, flushing supplements down the toilet because I'm overtaking supplements. I can scan and see specifically what to take. So we have our inner voice, and then we go to the vitals report. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time in this, but it's just looking on a frequency level where things are out of balance. And the bigger version of that with everything is going to be in this spreadsheet. This is going to be more of like the most critical things that did not optimize. So over here,
I like how they reduced it so that we're not overwhelming our clients with every bit of data. And this is a good scan because these are like the hot spots for you at the moment.
Yeah. So over here where it says previous scan, that's just where it was scanning me before it sent the optimizing frequency. So before anchovy, which I don't think I really eat anchovy unless it's, sneakily in some Caesar dressing. It was a 2. And again, we don't have to go over the numbers right now, but not great. And then it's stated to after the optimizing frequencies were sent. So over here is where I am currently. So then it looks into your blood levels. And here we go into our chakras. So my heart chakra is high, at least this morning. So heart could be linked to high blood pressure, breathing difficulties, circulation problems, shortness of breath, chest pains, disorders of the heart, tension between the shoulders. So definitely have the lung issues there. Surprisingly, my lung meridian is okay. But my gallbladder is high. So with all of the meridians, there are physical and emotional links. So gallbladder, actually the gallbladder itself, the bile production detoxification. So there probably is some detoxing that's happening with all of this, etc. And probably the emotional links are going to be more where this is coming from, just from what's going on in life right now. And then we go into gastrointestinal functions, and it's showing all these different things: physical or nutritional analysis, physical functionality. Toxicities, I think, is really interesting, especially when it gets down to like the heavy metals and the human toxins. A lot of times, it'll show up for me as tobacco/nicotine, but I don't smoke. But if I'm around people that do smoke, the energy from that frequency, from that toxin, can get into my biofield and into my body, and then getting me all out of whack. So I think that's super interesting. Did you want to hear about Megan? Was it Megan or someone else?
Well, what I was going to say about the tobacco, it can also be nightshades. Tobaccos are nightshades. So sometimes it'll look like one thing, but it could be a bigger category.
Right.
There was one person I was working with, and she was a virgin when she got married. Her husband was a virgin when they got married. They've had a stable, healthy relationship, and STDs showed up on here. And she's like, I don't get it. We don't have STDs. And that's true. That's true. It's possible that it could be generations back, stored in the DNA, RNA of the cell, and it's picking up that may not be something manifesting in your body, but we could actually work to get it out of your cells so that it's not carried into future generations. And or it could be another way that this was described. I really liked it. Lauren Samsonite. Lauren,
Founder of the company.
The founder of the company. I forget how to say his last name, but he talked about these reports, it's like our finger is in a stream of water, and that stream is constantly moving, and we take a snapshot of the finger with the stream of energy that's moving past it. It might catch some things in the stream that aren't the finger, and it might catch that. So that's one reason why we don't use it diagnostically. But if we keep capturing that same thing, when obviously the stream has definitely moved on, if that thing keeps coming up, it's most likely in the finger. It's something to be addressed. So it's a way of looking at the reports as educational tools. It's something your body's dealing with, whether or not it's yours and whether or not it's permanent. That's something that we'll look for, those flat tires, I call them, as we see repeating things.
So I think you just kind of answered this, but Lauren said, does the data change based on what you eat that day and the time of day you do the scan?
It can. It certainly can.
But also the whole analogy of the river. And then Marie asked, what data is being received to the platform? Is it reading back the frequencies in your body? Basically, yeah.
Yeah, when you give your name, your birthday, your photo, your height, your weight, and email and gender, that becomes a phone number for you, and it's how it tunes into you specifically in the quantum field. That's how they tune into you.
And then Crystal said, are you talking about the miasms in the report?
We can talk about miasms. That's definitely something in there, but there's more than miasms. But Crystal, I think I might need a reworded question.
Mm-hmm.
See these questions.
So this was the vitals part of it. So the inner voice, the vitals, and the comprehensive you can do as its own scans. This is just kind of a nifty 3-in-1 that I do. It takes about 6-ish minutes. Does the company supply supplements as well? They do have supplements. I haven't really looked too deeply into them, but there are some.
I carry a couple of product lines, and you can actually add those in, just like Megan showed how her supplements came up. I can add in my entire product line of Optimal Health Systems, Premier Research Labs, and Energetics, and have those in there. I also intend to put in, and this is definitely kind of a hack. It's not how it's instructed, but I'm going to try it out. Putting in prayers that shake heaven and earth as supplements and see what might pop up from day to day. I'm willing to try that out. Okay, Crystal clarified her question. When you're talking about the SCT on report, did that refer to miasms? I don't know, because I didn't see her report. That's a good question, because those can be miasms. Thank you. That really did clarify where you were coming from. Yeah, those can be miasms. I don't know where it was on her report. She just texted me and kind of gave me a funny complaint about it.
Sorry, Rebecca's mom's trying to get in the call. Let me run over here real quick. Bear with.
By the amount of radio mics there were, the island, even if you didn't care, you heard that the shark is not working things, but
Okay, here we go. All righty. So welcome to my Facebook. Okay, so next we have the comprehensive scan. So this is looking at the different organs, the cells, the chromosomes, everything. So a fun little feature is this little icon, and I can spin my little person around and go up and down, zoom in, sort of. I can go to different levels if it'll load for me. Okay, let's try another one. So kidney is my left renal artery. Probably not great. There we go. So I can spin that around, look at the diagram just to see like where it's at, which is kind of fun. My respiratory, that would make sense. And then my lower nerves, arteries in my head, and then the pulmonary trunk of my heart. So those are some things that I should probably look into to try to support. Okay. What else should we talk about with this, Chelsea? I couldn't hear you. You're not muted, but I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Huh. Okay, Sephi.
Oh, yes.
It's a whole new world inside Sephi.
Okay, so subtle energy frequency imprinter is super fun. I have several custom playlists that I've made. This was my playlist from yesterday that I just had scanned, but I have abundance, coughing ones, grief. I made a grief one and honoring my body, love vibes. I don't know if y'all saw well, most of y'all are not my Facebook friends, but I made a post last weekend because I was dealing with my cough like I have been. And something that Holy Spirit had told me was that there was a part of me that was not feeling love. And so we dealt with that, Holy Spirit ministered and everything like that. But I made this love vibes playlist and just played it throughout the rest of that day. And it helps significantly. Obviously, I'm still dealing with this cough, but there are layers like the onion. There are layers coming undone, and I'm slowly healing, slowly healing. But yeah, I can do, I have a weight loss one. Chelsea showed me this power playlist one. So you can add up to 15 different frequencies to this list. So I could muscle test through the lists. I have some documents that I have in my mind map that I could muscle test through and find what my body's needing. There are several, so quantum reach, affirmations, flowers, and chakras, you can actually go scan. So let's just see. So I could scan myself and it'll do this thing. So I need the affirmation successful. So then I could either imprint it. So I could imprint it into my glasses or my jewelry or a glass of water. I could do a 2-minute broadcast like Chelsea did with the AFib thing with her husband. I could do a continual broadcast where it just goes until I tell it to stop. I would imagine I could imprint these into sucrose pellets. I'm not sure why I would need that, but I'm sure I could. I can even change the target. So like I have my dogs, I have my bedroom, my car, our property, and then my office, but even my bank account and my business. I try to do the abundance one a couple times a day just because. So quantum frequency is going to be more symptom type things. So like breathing, shortness of breath, if you have different types of cancers,
Blood pressure, high or low.
constipation. So
What do you mean by like imprint? Like I don't get that. Like, can you explain that, please?
go ahead.
Okay, imprinting is something that I've done for a decade with my device that I had before this one. And it's where the device, well, with my other one, mine's Rife frequency based, it's sound files. And so it would play a sound, not pretty sound, but it was information, and it would play it in a bottle, and I would do it usually in a bottle of homeopathics that support detoxification of bacteria or viruses, fungus or whatever. But it adds information to the bottle, and then it's a message in a bottle you take in your mouth and your body gets the message. There's other ways to imprint though. Megan talked about how she'll put her glasses on there and she's carrying that frequency on her body when she does that. There's also Cephi dots. They're little.
I'm wearing one. I'm wearing one right
You
here.
have one? Oh, okay. So these little Cephi dots, you can put one on the picture, the pretty, it kind of looks like a, yeah, that.
The psychedelic picture.
Yeah, it is a little trippy. You can put it on there and it will catch the frequencies, and then you can wear it and it's in your biofield all day long. You can wear one of these up to 3 days. and then you would need to change it out. And then the sugar pellets are like if you went to Whole Foods or Sprouts or some health food store and got the little balls, the sugar balls of homeopathic remedies. Those are soaked in the homeopathic remedies with the doses and the potencies. But this would just be pure energetic imprinting, not necessarily soaking in the homeopathic remedy. Did that answer your question, Lindsay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trying to see if anyone in the chat said anything. Lauren said, if I wanted to use the AO for my family, would it be most beneficial to use it after waking up or using it before bedtime? I use it all day long.
Oh,
Yeah, all day long. Whenever you think about it, whenever you feel like it. That's amazing. Is there a way to have a frequency sent to me as sort of a test? Do you mean like if I were to make a client profile of you and send you frequencies? Is that what you mean?
I think so. I think.
I mean, I send frequencies to my mom. I've sent frequencies to my dogs, which that's a whole other conversation we can get into later. But
I will say that at one time I had a friend, she let me set her up in my scanner and I did some things. And then a couple nights it turns out that she has uncontrolled medicine won't help her asthma. It's really bad. And I'd like her to get this. I'm trying to get her to actually get one. But and I'm surprised she hadn't, because one night she texted me that it was really bad. And it was right before I was falling asleep. So I went ahead and sent her some lung frequencies for asthma. And I sent it and I fell asleep. And this was the one time I did not ask if it was okay to send it to her. And she gave me this text message. I did apologize instantly as soon as, she texted this. She goes, I don't know how to put this, but did you send me frequencies last night from that thing? Because I feel good and I don't know why. She's never recovered that way with this exacerbated asthma. And I said, I am so sorry. I didn't ask. And I hope because one thing, if she needed to be really sick for her doctor to believe her, I kind of messed with, you know what I mean? That's somebody else recently. I had to ask if they want me to help, because do they want me to help or do they want their doctor to see them at their worst? So that's another good reason for consent. Anyway, she was fine with what I did. She was really grateful, but understanding the what the cause and effect of actually sending frequencies to somebody can do is decrease their doctor's ability to see what's going on. So sometimes those symptoms are really handy, but she wanted to breathe, so it was good.
So consent is very important to say. So I would never run frequencies without people's permission. I believe you have to have the individual in the system and have run an initial scan to be able to send a frequency. So they have to be in the system, but they don't necessarily have to have the initial scan. It could help as far as data wise, but it's not necessary. So like, I think my mom, she's been having shoulder pain. And so I think maybe I set her frequencies for her shoulder pain before we even did an easy scan. Maybe, I don't recall, but I could do that.
I had another client, and I did have her permission to do this, but she and her daughter both texted me that she was really sick. And the way they were describing it, it sounded like they really needed to be in the emergency room. But the emergency room, here's the problem, they fail people quite often. And she's in her 80s and a COVID long hauler, and that just the emergency room can't help her. They're going to say, go to your doctor type thing. Mm-hmm. And so I got consent and ran some stuff to help her breathe and to detox what looked like potential pneumonia symptoms for her. And I didn't hear back from her for a few days. So I texted, I said, are you okay? Because I was hoping she'd go to the emergency room anyway, just for some other eyes to look at her, and maybe see something I'm not seeing. And she goes, oh yeah, that went away. And it was remarkable how it just, that took care of something for her. It helped her body get over a hump.
Yeah. So yes, you can go through, you can scan different types, several of these it will scan for you to see what you're needing. One of my favorites is the flowers, which are the different Bach, is it all of the Bach flowers?
It's all the Bach flowers. They have them categorized.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so in those main categories, then it can select a flower that fits that category. It's just a nice way of breaking it down and simplifying it. Vervain is my constitutional flower, by the way. Strong-willed and hold strong views, putting unnecessary effort into everything you undertake. Your mind races ahead of events, often suffer from lack of sleep due to overactive mind. With a Vervain person in balance, instead of being the person with the megaphone yelling at people, which I can do, I could totally do that. I can be the one that holds out the information, that one book described it as a light bearer, where people are drawn to that. And so the person, like when I'm out of balance for Vervain, I am on a soapbox and people really are like, ugh, but when I'm in balance for Vervain, I can be quite enjoyable to be around. So
yeah, so these are the different emotional type of categories, and then these are the flowers within that category. So Vervain is what apparently I'm needing. So that one I could imprint, or I could add it to a playlist. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen Bach flowers and the Bach flower tincture. I know several years ago I went and got some Bach flowers customized from Chelsea. I think it was a transition season for me. I think I was either about to graduate college or had just graduated college. And anyway, so she asked me lots of questions. It took a lot of time to get all of those particular flowers. What, like an hour and a half?
Yeah, I don't do it like that anymore.
Yeah. So now I can just scan and I can see what exactly I need. I can imprint it in a bottle. I could put it in a playlist, all that sort of thing.
I'm told you can broadcast with the imprint button on that one.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Again, so scary word, quantum chakra, I know. But same idea. If it's really out of balance, then I can scan it. And so my crown chakra needs some support. So I would just do that. Quantum homeopathics. So that's I'm using this a lot. So I can search. I should be able to just type. So like I would do my cough. I've personally been muscle testing that I needed this one a lot. So this is what my sucrose pellets have, is this pertussinum. But other ones have different homeopathic remedies within the cough topic, I guess you could say. So there's different things like that. I could also just scan. So if I'm struggling with a gluten intolerance, maybe I'm having a flare up or something, then I could scan and see which one of those I might need. And then I can either individually play them or do simultaneous. I just do simultaneous because it plays them all at once. It doesn't sound pretty and I'm not going to play it. It's a lot of cacophony happening, but I'll do the broadcast or imprint them into the sucrose pellets. So there's so many.
This is the spot where I put the heart for Bob, and I broadcasted from this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe I should run some of these. Some of the grief ones. But yeah, diabetes and fear, gastrointestinal. I feel like I've seen one for fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's.
Got it for Lyme.
Infectious diseases.
I mean, it's a long list.
Yeah, it's quite extensive. And I don't even have all of the features. Like this is what I have, but I don't have all the features yet. So many things. So you could do it by symptom, or if you just happen to know all of the fancy words for them, you could do it by the name of the homeopathic. They also have cell salts.
Those are awesome. I'm a magnesium phosphoricum person. Like that is my primary cell salt that I burn through fast. So having the ability to energetically broadcast that to my cells helps. Sometimes you really need the thing too, but being able to support myself with that at the same time is really a good thing.
Lindsay has to sign off. So thank you so much, Lindsay.
Thank
Bye.
you. Have a great day.
You too.
And then no-sodes. So what's the difference between these three things, Chelsea?
Sometimes a homeopathic is a no-sode and sometimes it's a remedy. So a no-sode is the disease tissue in diluted form, and it's kind of like holding a mirror up to your body and saying, you got to handle this right now.
So, like when I had my big staph infection on my chin,
Yeah.
this would have been really helpful
Yes.
when I was in high school. Good to know. So that's one area of Cephi. And then this homeoenergetics, is this just kind of a big conglomeration of different frequencies for various things?
For example, Lyme detox. Lyme is a whole cluster of different co-infections. They've got those all built into this. So if somebody has been showing Lyme in their scans, or if somebody knows they have Lyme disease, they've already been diagnosed with this, this will help it back out of the body. This will help it leave the body instead of be stuck. And it does need frequency to get all the way, because I've got clients that were born with it. So it's definitely all the way in where the RNA is stored and is affecting them. So we need to use frequency medicine to get in that deep to clear it out, the cells.
I know I add the trace minerals and the ultimate emotions a lot to my custom playlists.
Mhm.
So that's helpful. And then the Cephi dots, which is what I have. Where is it? There it is. So I could scan. I try to remember what I have in here. I put it on yesterday. Immune defense. I think I have that one in there, but this one's just a couple of different things. But you can put as many frequencies on a Cephi, right? Is there a limit to frequencies for Cephi dots? I forget. I don't think.
Some
Sorry.
people put a bunch on there, and some people just put like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think I mean, it could be something you muscle test too, but so I would do like cellular restore, immune defense, and perfect body. I think that's what I have in here. And then it gives you recommended placements that can change based on different things. So like I have it sort of here.
Those are based on, yeah, I don't think I'd ever want to wear it between my eyebrows, but those are meridians based on traditional Chinese medicine. They're going through meridians of the body that are connected to organs, glands that actually need that information specifically. So it's like putting it right in that targeted area.
I wouldn't want to put it on my foot either.
Yeah.
Personally.
How could anybody love a pebble in their shoe? Yeah. Yeah. So there's different places you can put it, but just having it in your biofield, I think, is going to be super helpful too. Even if you don't want to put it on your hand, if you don't want people seeing it or whatever.
So that's Cephi. So many things we could do with Cephi. And again, I can change the target. So like if my dog is not feeling well, then I could do immune support for her. Mm-hmm. If I want some, abundance in my bank account, then, or my business, and I would play my abundance playlist.
Yeah.
So those are just a couple of basic features. I have lately been running the, what is this, body systems for my respiratory. So let's just do that real quick. It'll take just a few seconds. Okay. So I'll go ahead and email that to myself. So since it doesn't store within the software, I have to email everything to myself, which is fine.
Which I actually appreciate, because I don't feel like anybody needs to be holding this information, not this detailed information about anybody. All it stores is the data that you gave to get you started, the things that create your phone number, your picture, your email, height, weight, gender. Yeah.
So these are just some notes about the respiratory system in general. And then it goes into some of the specific things. So it breaks it down into acute and chronic. And it's interesting with Chelsea's software because she has more of the big database. So if she ran this scan, she could probably see like how long it's been there. What else can you see in your?
Well, with body systems, I don't think it's going to necessarily show up. It's a special report on its own.
I know, I'm just saying, like, if you ran respiratory system in that scan, you could like see other things, right?
You could look at every single pathogen your lungs are dealing with.
Mhm.
And the emotions that go with it.
Mhm.
So while we do an inner voice, we're still, because we are amazing creatures, our emotions are very much a part of our human experience. And part of, I believe, the redemptive agenda of heaven as well. So working toward getting our emotions communicated and heard, met, and balanced so that we can be effective when we're relating with other people is huge. But our emotions also can tear up our body, or they can build up and strengthen our body when a system might be a little weak. It is about frequency. It's all about frequency.
Which goes back to us as a generation for millennials not feeling heard. The inner voice is a way for us to be able to feel heard. So again,
Well,
this is about frequency.
I have a client with dissociative identity disorder who got the device, and she's been doing inner voice when the littles come forward. And so she got to learn what the littles were feeling, what was going on. I have a few clients of mine that are using this so that they can get to know their parts and their alters better. It's really cool.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So yes, it doesn't necessarily mean I have chickenpox. It just means that the frequency of the chickenpox is present. It's out of balance. Same thing with herpes.
And it might be leading into shingles. Okay, so it's in your body,
right,
in your spine, so it's in there.
Yeah. But I'm not freaking out yet.
No.
So.
Maria, that's mostly who I work with. I work with people that have that, and it's a real gift from God to be able to split like that so that they can function. And the ones that took all the hits with the trauma might be the one that needs to be heard the most and can't speak, or has been programmed or told not to speak. And so this is a way of giving voice to this.
So yeah, so earlier when I said that a part of me was not feeling loved, that was just another nicer way of saying parts.
Parts. Everybody's got parts.
Everyone's got parts.
Everybody's got parts. Everybody's
All
got
have
parts.
trauma. I mean, what did I just talk about at the very beginning of this call with all of the collective trauma that we all have? So then the quick scan is super nice so that I could scan morning, midday, evening, or do a custom scan. If my pets need to have supplements, I could scan and see what they need, do some boosts. There's so many different features. But I think that's probably all regarding all of this. Oh, let's talk about pets, I guess. I'm not going to run a pets scan, but I have my two doggies in here, and they've just added, so with pets right now, you can only do vitals, but they just added horses, and you can do the comprehensive scan. So you can do this big, massive,
custom. Go to comprehensive and then custom scan. I did a few this morning. Yeah. So horses would be dark and bold, like your name. They're getting where dogs and cats will be added real soon. But they did horses first for some reason.
maybe they're bigger, they can see it more.
Oh no, or maybe the horse people made that strong request and they listened to them first. So
I mean, I would love to be able to run scans on my dog.
yeah, I mean, and you can do those comprehensive scans every nook and cranny down to the chromosomes. It's exhaustive. And in that comprehensive is where my big database is. So what they used to be, AOScan used to be a desktop device, similar to what I would have at my office, a little different, but a device that takes up desk space, right? And they ended up, technology improved, they all kinds of things improved where they were able to move it into a mobile device where it could handle all of this information and send out and broadcast and it be safe and protected. And so they switched it to the mobile and oh goodness, but I'm being redundant now, but the scanner cost $38,000. I don't want to pay that. I don't want to pay that, but I was able to get phase 1, 2, and 3 of their extra education, and phase 3 opens up their entire database that's in that desktop. And those phases, while they're, I mean, just in perspective, are not expensive. I paid about little shy of $1,000 for a $38,000 database, and it fits in my back pocket. I mean, I can't. I don't have complaints.
So Lauren had asked earlier, how much education is required to have an AO scanner? And I mean, I don't have a whole lot of education. I have a little bit, and I'm learning more every day, but there's so much to it that it's best to start small. I know that was kind of a big question that I had in our big text group, was like, how do I even read these? Like, what do I do with this information? And they were just like, just take it slowly, watch all the trainings. And so there's a lot of training that is available to us for free, as well as the paid trainings as in addition to that. So you really don't have to know a whole lot. Just know that it's all frequency based and you can be good.
Yeah. You don't have to know much, and you don't have to be a practitioner to gain tremendous value from the thing. That's why I want my clients to have it, and they can still see me as their practitioner if they need to. But I'm just trying to create a way that they can support themselves at home where they're not needing me as much. And honestly, what they'd spend with me for one consultation is they're going to save a ton of money down the road with the supplements, with the homeopathics, with all the things. It's there in the frequency form for a lot of it. Not in here. Did y'all hear that?
No. Just
Hold on, I'm
wait.
gonna yell.
So yeah, so kind of going along with the saving money and the cost part, there is a business part to this. It's not required, it's not necessary, but if you are a millennial like I am and is struggling with the whole economy aspect, like I talked about earlier, this could be a really good opportunity for you. But it's not required. It's super beneficial though. Just, I've been a part of various companies and still am part of different companies. And I haven't even looked at the compensation plan for this. And it doesn't matter to me because I love the product so much. Like, I love the scan. I use it in my business with other clients. Like, I could care less if I get paid, but it's a nice little perk.
Yeah. I'm somebody who never wanted to promote an MLM or network marketing in my business because it's what set me apart, what made me different. And when I got my hands on this, I wanted it for the inner voice, and I shared why earlier, but when I saw what it could do and how accessible it was, then I started getting really interested in it. And it's been my first experience in network marketing where I'm actually engaged in marketing for it. But because I truly believe in this product, and it's so broad as far as its usefulness. So I absolutely was willing to let people tease me. I have a nickname that's Chelsea. I don't do MLMs, Barlow. And our team calls me that sometimes. because I'm quite the contrary now. I'm really, really into this. But where there's the goal is to purchase the device, purchase this or a tablet. I'm actually thinking about getting a tablet. I was with a gentleman at my office yesterday, and this was so dinky size for sharing it with him where he was with me that I think I'm going to have a tablet version at that. But this is $495 for this device, and it's a dedicated device. You know, don't put social media on it. Don't even put a SIM card in it. Just use the Wi-Fi and just use the AO scan on it. It'll help keep things clean. But then there's a monthly subscription of $150, and that's each month. But this is a one-time scan or one-time price. And then in order to, you can become a preferred customer, or you can become a quantum living advocate, and that is where you are able to share it with others and actually be compensated for the share. And that is $49 a year, the license fee for that. If you have 3 people under you, it covers your monthly expense. You earn enough each month with those 3 people that your subscription nets zero, where it balances out. And then there's all these other incredible actually ranking and compensation plan that I thought was really generous. And the feedback from people who have done lots of different compensation plans, understands network marketing, they're impressed with it. So I don't know. I did like my last check. I did like it a lot. That was nice to have.
Chelsea also happens to have won a trip to Punta Cana.
Oh, well,
I don't know if you're going, but you won it. So that's worth mentioning.
Well, I can get cash, so I'm going to take the cash.
I think that wraps up everything we wanted to share. I want to open it up for questions. Just whoever has a question can just unmute.
Thank you. There's a special going on. I could mention that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then if there's no more questions, we might be able to taper off. For when you join, they'll send you a bottle. I think this bottle is about $50 in the store. It's Ionic Solex Gold, and it is fulvic acid in a bottle. So you're getting those incredible electrolytes from the fulvic acid, and you can put it in you can't taste it in your coffee, but if you take it in your mouth, it's not going to taste pleasant. But that is a gift from Solex to you if you decide to join.
If any of you guys did decide to purchase, what are some things you would hope to see from the scan? Like why would you want it?
Well, that's a really good question.
I can answer that. I was just thinking about how I've been so frustrated by going the medical route, not just because I'm more natural minded, but because doing labs and going back and forth to the doctor is just frustrating. And it could take years and years of being consistently going and still not get answers that you need. Like nobody has enough time in their life to get enough doctor's visits and lab visits to get the answers to deal with things. Even if you go to a more holistic doctor or you go do more natural routes, it's just you're not getting real-time information that is, even the best of the best, it's just not as helpful. So I can see that being just helpful to anyone, especially like myself who has some autoimmune issues and chronic illness, where you can get more like real-time information about what's going on in your body and be able to treat those things is just huge. Like there's not really anything else that hits that. Even if you had all the money in the world, to see doctors, like you're not going to be able to see them as consistently as you would like to. So that's kind of one of the things that stands out to me for sure.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. So Lauren had said she would use it for her family and maybe in the near future use it for clients. Yeah, I'm just curious if there was a feature that really sparked your interest. Anyone? For me, so I first heard about it back in 2021 from another type of practitioner. She's more emotion code, body code, and now is using the scan almost exclusively. But I started following her because she does muscle testing, and I was searching muscle testing tags on Instagram, so I followed her. And she started sharing about the scan. So I did a free EZ scan with her a couple of years ago, and I just like fell in love with it. So I've been wanting to get this scan. I've been wanting to get it for 2 years. And so Chelsea and her friend Sandy went to North Carolina for this event that the company was having, and I was able to afford to get the subscription, and it was great. And now I'm using it and sharing with everybody. But I really enjoyed the inner voice part, to be able to see the emotions that are coming through my voice. So I think you need to give your mic a second to like warm up.
Warmed up yet? Okay, now, wow, this is interesting. Okay, with Rebecca's point about going and lab work and everything, they don't look at the emotions. So they're actually missing data when they do that too. So I think that's another perk, is looking at the whole person. Now, it's not looking at the spiritual components of the body. That's something extra, and I don't want them looking at it. I want to look at that myself, but the body and the soul are being addressed through this. And so your doctors can't say, hey, your liver's really got some high enzymes. Oh, you might be having some struggles with anger or something like that. Or are you feeling anger? They don't do that. They don't address the emotional component. It's outside their wheelhouse. It's outside of their scope of practice. So they really can't. But because we're going at this through frequency, we can look at the whole body that way.
Lauren says the frequency imprinter part is impressive for me. The user-friendly features is awesome, and I feel like it's easy to use. Yes, definitely.
And I shared this before. I chose my upline on purpose.
I don't know if you did share that actually.
I shared it with in the other Zoom I did, but I didn't share here. But I chose my upline on purpose. It's a powerhouse upline. Not only would I be Megan's upline, but above me is a couple layers up. She is highly organized and used to network marketing and holistic medicine. And then the two above her, she is the lead of QLAs in the company. She's the top one. And so we're highly supported with educational documents, the ability to ask questions, all those things. So even if I'm not available, or even if Megan's not available, you've got a big team of people who are experienced that would be available to answer questions.
There's like several holistic practitioners within that group, I think, naturopathic doctors and
yeah, a ton of us.
Are there any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Chelsea, for helping me with this Zoom call. So I'm gonna try to get this into my YouTube pretty quickly. We'll see how this 2-hour video takes to download and get it uploaded. And then let's see. Yeah, I can share my QLA link and you guys can look through all of that. And I hope you guys do decide to try this amazing technology.
Yeah. Bless y'all. Thanks for joining us today.
All right. Thank you guys so much.